Picture the bustling harbor of ancient Alexandria, bathed in the unrelenting Mediterranean sun. It's a chaotic crossroads of empires, where massive ships pull in carrying something more valuable than gold: incoming scrolls. Seized from every vessel, these documents are treated as absolute precious cargo, carefully unloaded and heavily guarded by soldiers. Welcome to the Library of Alexandria Explained.
Imagine the constant arrival of passionate scholars speaking dozens of languages, bringing radical ideas into a single hub. The library became a legend because it represented an unprecedented ambition, gathering all human understanding under one roof. It was a powerful symbol of knowledge made visible, tapping into the timeless hope that if we gather enough scattered information, we might finally conquer the mysteries of the world.
To grasp its true power, we need to strip away a persistent modern assumption. Today, we picture a silent reading room filled with finished books sitting passively on dusty shelves. The ancient reality was vastly different and honestly incredibly loud. It was an active maintenance system for delicate handwritten scrolls. Picture a dynamic workshop filled with the sharp smell of fresh papyrus, where raw information was aggressively scrutinized and forged.
We should view this institution through a completely different mental model, an ancient knowledge engine. Consider how a massive bakery operates. It takes in raw wheat, mills it down, and consistently produces reliable bread to feed a city. The library functioned the exact same way. It took in raw, disorganized texts from across the globe, processed them through an intense filter, and produced actual, usable understanding that fueled a society.
The stakes were incredibly high because ancient knowledge was profoundly fragile. Everything was meticulously handwritten on delicate organic material, no printing presses, and absolutely no digital backups. Imagine a tired scribe, eyes straining by an oil lamp, accidentally skipping a crucial word in a medical text. That solitary error might be blindly copied thousands of times, altering treatments for centuries. The library was a desperate defense against the erasure of human memory.
Because of this extreme fragility, the daily workflow required meticulous labeling, organized storage, and strict copying routines. Think of a modern airport control tower. An airport isn't just concrete, it's a highly coordinated system managing movement, timing, and safety. The brilliant minds in Alexandria were essentially air traffic controllers for human thought. They safely guided volatile, potentially world-changing ideas in and out of the intellectual harbor without letting them crash.
If we map their scholarly workflow directly onto our modern technological stack, the parallels are striking. Their obsessive need to physically store massive amounts of text, that's the ancient world's version of a hard drive backup. Comparing those texts perfectly mirrors modern version control and software development. Gathering scholars functioned just like a premier research institution, and broadcasting that prestige to the world acted much like a modern space program, engineered to intimidate rivals.
Now, the true genius of gathering all these scrolls in one location was unlocking the immense power of comparison. Imagine listening to a complex musical ensemble. If you only hear one recording of a symphony, you blindly assume every note is correct. But hearing several different performances reveals the underlying structure and highlights mistakes. Similarly, by unrolling multiple copies of a legendary epic side by side, ancient scholars could cross-reference tiny variations and reconstruct the authentic original document. Of course, a pile of scrolls sitting silently in the dark is really just dormant data. The library's world-changing power came from its moving parts, the living, breathing scholars. Picture the intellectual electricity in those halls, with brilliant minds from rival philosophical schools fiercely debating. They were constantly cataloging fresh data, editing flawed texts, and translating obscure foreign works. This passionate community was the catalyst that ignited disorganized information into actionable insight. This intense intellectual labor triggered a monumental leap forward in the evolution of human memory. For most of early history, survival knowledge relied on a single village elder's vulnerable memory. Humanity then advanced to copied, written records. Alexandria revolutionized this by building a shared database, quickly evolving into a refined community record. It transformed isolated individual thoughts into a highly durable collective memory bank belonging to an entire civilization rather than just a mortal mind.
Operating as a literal crossroads, the library acted as an incredibly powerful cultural catalyst. By intentionally bringing together deep Egyptian learning, rigorous Greek intellectual traditions, and ancient Near Eastern histories, different cultures violently and brilliantly collided. When thousands of years of detailed Egyptian star charts combined with cutting-edge Greek geometry, entirely new mathematical and astronomical ideas sparked into existence. It shattered old intellectual boundaries and created entirely new branches of human knowledge.
You might wonder why powerful ancient kings willingly funded such an astronomically expensive undertaking. The answer comes down to the undeniable connection between data and power. Just as modern entities rely on massive data sets for dominance, controlling a knowledge engine provided the crucial infrastructure needed to administer a sprawling empire. It supplied the state with accurate records for governance, geographical maps to control trade routes, and incredibly detailed tax information. Knowledge was the ultimate tool for absolute control.
The Library of Alexandria isn't simply a tragic story about a lost building. It remains the enduring model of a civilization recognizing that knowledge must be actively cultivated, rigorously checked, and fiercely protected. It was an ambitious attempt to make human understanding last forever, treating collective knowledge as vital societal infrastructure. Which leaves us with a critical question. As we generate more raw data in a single day than the ancient world did in a century, are our massive digital servers fundamentally more fragile than ancient papyrus scrolls?